on to video number 2 of my social timeline, in my sort of middle to late teenage years now. So no one expected that I'd do that well in my GCSEs, because I did have like some difficulties learning, problems with organisation, you know, which obviously isn't really relevant to this video. I've talked about that elsewhere, you know, but I did really struggle with the learning side, not just the social side, just the whole kind of like organisation involved of being at school that I needed a lot of support with, and mainly my parents did. Well, my parents basically organised everything for me. So people didn't really expect that I would get GCSEs. It just wasn't expected of me. My mum said, you know, just do as hard as you can, and if you get a few GCSEs, that's great, you know. But she didn't really expect I could, you know, she didn't really expect I to go well. But my mum put in place a lot of provision support, and I think it helped me, the fact that both my parents are like really educated and like were willing to put in all that time and effort intensively into helping me with organisation and helping me with my learning. I think if I didn't have parents who were that committed, I just don't think I would have done as well as I did. Because yeah, my mum put in place a lot of provision support, and because I can remember information well, if so long as it is learnt by rote or sort of over rehearsed, gone over again and again. I did manage to assign to memory almost entire essays, you know, that my dad wrote out for me. I also learned revision books off by heart as well. So therefore I did a lot better in my GCSEs than everyone anticipated. I got 8 GCSEs, 8 to C. The only one I failed, which is unsurprising really, is maths, considering my dyscalculia, it's highly surprising, and art. The reason I failed art was because I didn't understand the coursework, and I basically did completely the wrong thing. So I basically didn't get a mark at all for my coursework because I didn't understand it at all. I just completely and utterly did not understand what the hell I was supposed to be doing. But yeah, apart from those 2, I got A to C in all the other subjects, so that was good. And so I did a lot better than everyone anticipated. So I studied A-levels at my school's 6th form. I now also became more socially aware. I began to mask more consistently and was now very rarely inappropriate at school. It was kind of dawning on me, I think, that, you know, I needed to be mature now. I was now in 6th form, you know. I had to kind of grow up a bit and just stop being so weird. I still had no real friends, although one girl was very friendly towards me in a common room at break times, in the rare times when I was actually in a common room, because a lot of the time I spent time locked away in the toilets, with the door closed. People bang on the toilet, say, are you alright, who's in there? Because I just spent most of the common room, it gets locked in the common room toilets, because I mean, where else are you supposed to go if else was too noisy and raucous? Like, also when I was in a 6th form, we did have the luxury of being able to leave the school premises at lunchtime, because I live near the school. I would often actually walk home at lunchtime, spend my lunchtime at home, having my lunch in front of a television, watching This Morning, or like Loose Women. Yes, I did watch Loose Women. Jeremy Kyle show, yeah, God. I think we used to watch those programmes. But you know, it was kind of like relief after like being at school and doing like hardcore like lessons, and also for a welcome break from like, so you know, being around other kids and stuff. So I'd come home, have my lunch, watch, you know, daytime TV, you know, recalibrate as it were. Sometimes I'd do it with my brother, because by that point he was doing his like GCSE revision, so he often used to like use the TV as well as a chilling out kind of thing. So we used to often watch it together around lunchtime and have our packed lunch in front of the TV, and then I'd go back to school if I had another lesson, and that was really good and really beneficial, because it meant I could have some kind of downtime before going back into school, so I did like that. But as I say, there was a girl who did get friendly towards me in the rare moments when I did go into the common room at lunchtime, and after I left school, we stayed in contact for a while. I masked with her in a sense that I consciously tried to sound like a nice, well-behaved, mature girl by copying the way I saw other nice girls behave. And obviously I wasn't aware of masking at this age. I didn't know masking was a thing. All I knew was, because obviously, you know, I didn't have my autism diagnosis at the time, but all I knew was that, you know, I wasn't really being authentic. This was an act, you know. It just didn't feel at all comfortable. It felt really hard work, but I felt I needed to try and just kind of like act like normal, basically. Whereas other nice girls behave. But I felt really inauthentic when around her because I was aware I was acting a part, and I felt that I was hiding a bad secret from her because my other side was weird and strange, immature, not at all like the other girl she liked. So I kind of felt almost like I was playing two personalities, and that felt really uncomfortable. I was never sure if we were really friends or not, and the whole concept of friend is something I really struggle to grasp. I still don't really get it to this day. It's a very kind of intellectual thing for me. I just don't really get it. I mean, what is a friend? You know, it's just don't get it. But yeah, in any case, we are no longer in contact because I lost interest and motivation in masking when around her. Because that's the thing, masking takes a massive toll out of you. You know, obviously I know now what it is, like masking as it's called. Didn't have a name for it back then. I just found it really uncomfortable and awkward. Yeah, and although she was a really nice girl, I felt our lives were too dissimilar to have much in common. When I started a history degree at my local university, I stayed at home with my parents as there was no way I would have coped in halls, just no way. I befriended a girl in my class. However, although we sometimes met up outside of uni for tea and we sat in class together, the friendship did not develop beyond these parameters. I also think that because I had become more socially aware and I was therefore masking more earnestly, the interactions felt even more awkward and hard work. In the past, when I was less socially aware, but consequently the interactions were less tiring. So in the past, when I was less socially aware, I was more obviously socially different, and also, of course, I developed a bit more social awareness over the years and a bit more social fluency. But at the same time, with that social awareness meant that it was a lot more tiring and hard work because I was now more consciously aware of trying to act and trying to perform and trying to fit in. Whereas before, when I was just socially odd, I didn't have so many, I was less socially, I was more socially impaired in one sense, but on the other sense, it wasn't so tiring. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, really. Also, my OCD also meant I could not go out with her as often as I might otherwise have done. So this was kind of, obviously my social issues were compounded by my growing OCD and mental health issues, which added an extra layer of problem. And I do regret that because I feel I would have made more, I could have made more of an effort to stay friends with her, so I do regret that a bit. Now, while I was at uni, I first started receiving therapy for my OCD at the mental health team, and 6 months after I left uni, I got diagnosed with autism. And my parents were the ones who actually first suspected autism, and that was way back when I was about 12, and my dad found out about during his teacher training. But I had known nothing about autism, and I dismissed the idea for saying that any social issues I had were my parents' fault. I didn't want to think I had some condition or something. I was very, very defensive whenever they raised it. But increasing anxiety meant I finally could no longer be in denial about the extent of my problems, which led me to asking for a referral to get assessed, and my parents then supported me and were all behind that and everything, so that's great. And I also saw a counsellor at the university around this time who also suggested autism as a possibility. Funny enough, she suggested it, but no one at the mental health team did. It's funny that you think that the mental health team people would be more aware, but actually it turned out the university counsellor was more aware about autism. She was the one who also suggested it to me as well as my parents, so that was interesting. The diagnosis, of course, was a huge relief, and I've talked about it elsewhere in my other diagnosis videos, and it did lead to me getting the support I desperately needed from the autism charity. My OCD improved massively, and I did begin to get out more, but making friends was not a priority. I was content to volunteer and meet people that way. I preferred to spend my free time alone, pursuing my interests, as I sort of still do. I'm still like that to this day, really. I don't really have a strong social drive at all. I mean, I do need some social contact, don't get me wrong, but it has to be on my terms. It has to be very controlled. My social worker, in a sense, provides me with enough social contact in a controllable way. I would say, though, that as a kid, I did have a bit more social motivation, even though I struggled more with, even though I was more socially inappropriate and socially odd, I had more social motivation than I do now, at least when I was not at school. And as I talked about in my video about holidays, but I was very socially inappropriate, so I had the social motivation, I just did it in a really obviously socially inappropriate way, which I don't think anyone could ignore, really. That's why even the school noticed it. Obviously they didn't mention autism at that age, but they noticed it. I couldn't really hide the fact I was socially odd at that age because I hadn't yet learned how to mask. But at the same time, I wasn't as tired with socialising because I didn't have to put so much effort in because I wasn't thinking about it, I wasn't aware, I didn't need to act, I was just basically being 100% myself. I think with growing social awareness, you become more aware that you need to act, you become well aware of the rules, but it actually makes it even more tiring, and it actually means that your motivation actually goes down. yeah, as I say, so when I didn't have that social awareness as a kid, I was not expending any energy in trying to blend in. As an adult, I now feel obliged to blend in, and this is really hard work. So I do enjoy having some social contact, but only in controlled settings, involving voluntary work or being with my support worker. But at the same time, part of me does want to have friends. It's a real kind of like up and down thing. Like, in theory, yeah, I want friends, but when it comes down to reality, it's really, really difficult and really, really stressful. So I'm yet to kind of really find a balance. In theory, I want friends, but the reality of it, when you have to reciprocate and all that, it's just too difficult. So yeah, so I'm not going to finish now, but in a future video, I'm going to talk more about my present day social issues. Next week, though, I plan to share some recipes and a few other things. Next week, there might be a little break from the social timeline, which I will come back to because I want to bring you up to date. Really, just a short video on where I am at now socially. But I want to next week I want to share with you a few recipes and maybe a few other things. Okay, so I look forward to speaking to you next week. So thank you for watching.